All right, everyone. Hey, how's it going? Oh, welcome back to, I guess, the third episode of season three. And we're just going to get right into it. I got my friend Will with me. Go ahead, Will.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
Uh, I don't know. Do you want to kind of like go over because this was technically your idea for an episode as well.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
why don't you describe it?
Yeah. So I guess to dive in. So I had the idea. I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about Stranger Things. It's one of my favorite TV shows.
Mhm.
One of the only TV shows I actually follow properly after I stopped watching The Walking Dead. But yeah, Stranger Things is coming back to Netflix this week, so I thought it'd be fun to talk to Kush about it. The goat when it comes to TV and movies. The
I
most
appreciate
knowledgeable
that. Thank you.
man, the most knowledgeable man I know about all this. But yeah, I guess we'll do a little recap of season 1 and 2 for like a minute. So I'll try to time myself so it doesn't go on too long. Basically, the show's obviously set in the 80s in a small town in Indiana. And there are these five kids who are good friends by the name of Mike, Dustin, Lucas, Will, and is there four of them?
There's only four of them.
Okay. Oh, and then five
And
is
then we have
11.
11, yeah. And
Cool.
then
All
we
right.
obviously have the season two editions as well.
Yeah, exactly. So then, long story short, they meet this chick called 11 who has like telekinesis. We find out why throughout the show, but I won't go into that now. But she has powers. She can move things with her mind, which is incredible. And then, yeah, season 2, as you mentioned, we meet Mad Max. And basically, the whole premise of the show is they're trying to save the world from something called the other side, the upside down world. And one of the kids gets kidnapped into the upside down world in season 1. He's affected in this, by this traumatic experience in season 2. But they're all alive and well heading into season 3. So yeah, I guess we're going to talk about what we want to see coming in season 3, what we're excited about, maybe dive into what we don't want to see, and yeah.
That's actually a perfect summary. Like, we
Appreciate
keep
it.
getting. Oh no, I mean you did a pretty solid job. Uh, we keep getting like I guess hints at part of these like little world building things as well. We got the introduction to 8 in season 2. We got introductions to like, just somewhat of a what was it, season 1 or season 2, where we kind of got introduced to who Eleven's mom was to an extent.
Yeah, so I think that was an arc in season 2, and in fact, it's that's one of my notes I wanted to ask you about. So why don't we just go into it? So I guess
Sure.
one of my questions was like, do you think we're ever going to see these other kids again? Because there was that like one episode cameo where 11 disappears to like Baltimore, I think, and
Yeah.
then she hangs out with all these other kids. She gets her punk makeover. She does some cool shit. Oh, sorry, wait, can we swear on this?
Yeah, we can,
Okay,
100%.
cool. She does some cool shit. They run around town, and then she kind of realizes at the end of it that this isn't what she wants. She's glad. I feel like she was glad she explored it, but ultimately she realizes and she senses she's got to get back to Indiana to save her friends, and that's sort of heading into the sort of end of season 2. But I don't know. What do you think? Do you think we're ever going to see these kids again?
So this the way that they introduced it, like the fact that they dedicated a whole episode to it, it feels like it's one of those things where every season we might get an introduction to something that's to an extent like a world building kind of thing where we get introduced to a particular other character. We know
Hmm.
that like 11 is just it's not just like a random name that's been given to her, like she's probably the 11th test subject.
Yeah, I think we can come to that conclusion once we get to that episode, right? Like, there's been enough
Exactly.
clues that she is, basically a number when she was a child, when she was abducted and thrown into this. Don't even really know what to call it. I guess it was a hospital, but she gets done all these tests, and she's obviously exactly as you say, world building. They set the scene that she's not the only one.
Hmm. And that's one of the things where I would, while it's I don't know, while the introduction to the Upside Down and the monsters that particularly come out of it, they're incredibly interesting. But to also see this kind of like this little secret test facility and what happened with everyone in there. I don't know if you ever watched the Umbrella Academy, but it kind of reminds me of the elements of those things where it's like these particular like mutant type characters that are there that we just have to kind of find out more about. And it could be like a team up kind of thing because it seems like it's leading up to possibly something along those lines.
Yeah, I
Ev-
was I was just wondering that. Sorry, go on.
like every season, well, one of the things that we get to see is like all of the major characters that we know come together to fight off like the biggest monster there is. We kind of got to see that in season 1, but we also kind of got to see that again in season 2, and that's
Yeah,
kind of like their
exactly.
penultimate episode, either the last one or the one before the last, where we get to see something along these lines happen. And the thing about like the fact that the TV show storylines are heavily inspired by D&D means that like these
Right.
monsters keep getting bigger and bigger as time goes by, and you need more and more people, or you need to get stronger as time goes by to take on the monsters at the end.
That's interesting. So I didn't know that about Dungeons and Dragons. I should really get on that. I haven't played any of that in my life yet, but I should really learn how to play that because I do like this show so much. But I don't know how I feel about that because I kind of like how at the end of both seasons,
Hmm.
Elle just not Elle, excuse me, 11. Well, they call her Elle in the show, but
Yeah.
11 sort of comes back in and saves the day like twice, like back to back seasons. It's like LeBron, like 2015, 2016 in the finals, basically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, and I'm, maybe what you're saying is they're sort of preluding to this almost like Marvel-esque universe where they've got to team up. But I don't know how I feel about that because I like that Elle's such a badass. Like I love that she like doesn't need anybody else and she can do it on her own. But maybe, yeah, maybe what you're saying is, these monsters get bigger and bigger and worse, and she kind of needs all that help. But I just wonder is if that happens, what are the boys going to do? The four, they don't have any superpowers. Do they kind of become redundant to the show?
I mean, the kids will like at least the four of them will always be. The best term for it would be like the MacGuffin that's always there. They're the things that like kind of hold the universe together to an extent because they are
Yeah.
what the audience is supposed to be. They're supposed to
Right.
be these people just like looking at what everything that's happening. And the reason why I would love it if we actually ended up getting more of like a team up aspect to the show is because you don't want the thing that usually happens with a lot of like Superman things where he's like the be all save all kind of thing at the end of the day. Like you want to see the vulnerabilities that take place, and if 11 keeps coming in at the last moment, season and season on end, as and like kind of just does this thing where she's like more powerful than everything that's out there, it kind of makes it super hard to relate to her.
Yeah, true. And also, I guess it might get boring, right? Like, I guess if
Exactly.
we had another season where the monsters and getting bigger and worse, and it kind of feels, like an inevitability that they're going to win this fight, and then she sort
Yeah.
of comes in and saves the day. I guess if that happened for a third time, they might sort of lose some interest from the audience. That's a good point.
And in order to kind of like keep the interest in the hero that you have, you kind of want them to lose at particular points as well. That's kind of what makes them like incredibly interesting in general.
Yeah,
And
true.
that's something that I would like to see. I would like to see the introduction of like other characters. Like it would be kind of a wasted episode considering they dedicated an entire episode to 8. I think it
Yeah.
would be very like kind of just like a giant fuck you to like the viewers, just being like, "Well, we introduced you to a character, and now we just like left it all aside."
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna lie. I felt, the episode that followed, I was a bit confused. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, why did I just spend 45 minutes watching these characters I've never seen before do
And you
this
would
entire
hope that they
episode?
did something with that. Otherwise,
Right,
it's
and
just
then it went nowhere in that season. Anyways,
like
interesting.
that's one of the things where it's just like when you have these limited series seasons, you don't want them to waste any second of it because you're not getting
True.
22 episodes of 45-minute long shows where you
Hmm.
can have filler episodes. Like every minute matters. So if you spend 45 minutes dedicating to like this entire thing that happens in a different city with different characters where one of the characters is actually similar to 11 and then you're just like we're just going to push that to the side as if it never happened. You literally wasted a tenth of a season by doing that.
True. And then, if you consider the show only has 2 seasons, you're looking at
That
like a fifth
5%
of,
of the
yeah,
show. Yeah.
5%. Sorry, not a fifth. My maths is horrible. All right, so I guess it sounds like we should be expecting to see not only 8, but potentially a more expanded cast in season 3 of these kids with superpowers.
That would be a way to go. Like we obviously have a world where like magic's the thing and monsters are a thing. So like the fact
Yeah.
that you would have these like mutant type kids that have like special powers is not really out of the world. Uh,
Would you be disappointed, or do you think that any of the quote unquote normal human characters, so the 5 guys,
yeah,
sorry, excuse me, the 4 guys and Mad Max, would you be
yeah.
disappointed or annoyed if they learnt or somehow just like magically got superpowers? Because I feel like that'd be a bit rubbish, but also I could see them going that way, right? Where somehow Elle teaches them the secret source to it.
Uh, I would. I don't want any of them except one character to possibly get powers. Let's say I'm trying to remember the name, the kid who was in the Upside Down or the Netherrealm or
Will
Will.
Byers. Yeah,
Yeah,
Will Byers.
if
Oh, I
Will
tell you
was
what, yeah, that
if
would be
Will was
good.
one of the people that actually got the ability to kind of like, I guess, like shift between dimensions and kind of figure out the best way to beat these monsters or something along those lines, kind of be like this portal of
Yeah,
knowledge. I
and
think that would be really cool to do that.
I feel like they could sell it pretty easy too. Like I'd buy that. Like as a consumer, if they were like, "Oh, he was in the Upside Down for like a whole season. Like
Yeah.
this is an after effect. This is something that stayed dormant in him for season 2. But guess what? Bam, we're here in season 3, and he has this power. I would buy stock in that.
And we also obviously have like 2 seasons worth of content to have, like, it wouldn't be that long of a stretch because we keep seeing these hints of
Yeah,
Will
he
like
has those
switching.
flashes. Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. Yeah.
And that's why I'm just like, it would be kind of a cool thing to do. Like in the Flash, they had kind of that happen with a character called Cisco,
Yeah,
where he gets killed and then brought back to life, and then because he gets brought back to life, he kind of gets like this weird ability to kind of go between like different dimensions by just touching random things that are around him.
true. That would be cool.
And I
I,
think it would be cool to see Will get powers if they want to give someone powers, but I don't want Dustin and like Mike and all the others
yeah,
to get
true.
powers. Like I want them to be who they are. Like
I would,
they
I would
are
be
us in D&D. That's what they are.
okay. I would be okay if they gave powers to Mad Max because for two reasons. So one, she was
Yeah.
new at the beginning of season 2, right? So we don't actually really know anything about her history other than she moved to Indiana from California with her stepbrother, the guy who gets in the fight
Yep.
with one of the lead male protagonists. I forget his name. Um, but they could write that in, right? They could write that in where it's like, oh, she's like 2 or 3. You know what I mean? Like she has these crazy powers, but we didn't talk about it in season 2 because we wanted it to be a surprise or a secret.
It could be something along the lines of like there's a particular storyline called Dark Phoenix where Jean Grey's character figures out that she has powers that like were hidden from her to an
Okay.
extent. Like her there was like a mental block built around her memory of these powers that she had, and if that's something like that happened to Mad Max, that would be pretty cool because
Yeah,
then
I'd like that.
you could actually even write like a small like walking the line between being like a bad and a good like person in that thing where you realize like everything around you was a lie and you kind of like confused about everything.
hmm And then she could kind of go crazy for an episode,
Exactly,
like
like you could
like
have like
teen
actual
angst.
moments. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like we kind of got that with 11 with her like a punk rock phase.
Yeah. True. All right, and
So
then my second reasoning for why I would back her to have it is her name.
Mhm.
Like her character is Mad Max. Like I feel like that's got to mean something, right? Like they wouldn't just write that in for
Like why would she
alliteration,
be
would
called
they?
Mad Max?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it could be a nickname, sure, but why did they call her Mad Max? Oh, she has crazy strength and she would get angry and push people in California. Like who knows, right? I feel like there's so many ways they could go with that.
No, I completely get that. Like I completely agree with that. Her character was one of those characters where we did not get. There are two characters in Stranger Things that I want to see get way more screen time just because I think they're pretty interesting. One of them is obviously Max. The
hmm
other one, just because of how much she steals the show every single time she's on the scene, is Lucas's sister.
Yes. Yes.
Like Erica, I think Erica Sinclair or something like that.
Oh, I
Phenomenal
thought you were
character.
talking about Nancy. Okay, sorry. I thought you were talking about Nancy.
No, no, Lucas's sister is like she's like maybe like 6 or 7, maybe like 8 at the very most, but she's super sassy as a character.
Okay, Erica Sinclair. I got you. I got you. I got you. Seeing that here.
And
Um,
like I think she does comedic relief better than anyone else on this show.
okay, I
And I
like
would
that. I'll
love to
buy
see her
that.
get more screen time, just in general.
Okay, I might have bad news for you. I'm looking at the Wikipedia page. She's not listed as a returning character for season 3, so
No.
I hate to burst your bubble. But yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, to be fair though, none of the quote unquote returning characters are listed on Wikipedia, so they might just not know. It's only the sort of main characters who are listed
Yeah,
as coming back for season 3. So I'm gonna say that's Wikipedia doesn't know what it's talking about just yet.
but I'm trying to think like apart from the yeah, I'd love to see like an introduction of like I would love it if 11 was possibly the most powerful of them all, and she was the last test subject that was there, that kind of a thing. And then you obviously
So
have
her
the
powers
Template.
grew like more than the rest of them
Exactly,
because
or
she
like
was
she
there
was like
longer.
exactly like she was held the longest. She was one of the last to escape or something along those lines. which means like she kind of got the strongest powers, and that like we could literally have a case where like she still hasn't like kind of discovered all of her powers yet,
Yeah, I
which
definitely
is
think that's coming. I definitely think that's coming. Like, I feel like, yeah, we've just scratched the surface on what, like, she's only just like scratching the surface on what she can do.
exactly like the older she gets, the more powers she discovers, and like they could build this into like a multi-season show if they actually built the characters, like the power-based characters and everything like that. I'm not saying give us like one a season, but you could give us like a few a season. Like this could be a solid like 6-season show.
Well, I was going to ask you, that's a great transition into like a different topic, which is like, what do you think the longevity of the show is? I guess it depends on the direction, but I mean, I personally agree with you. I think this could go 6, 7, 8 seasons. Like, the audience is there, the fan base is there. All these actors and actresses are so young,
Yep.
and I guess as always, it'll come down to cost, right? How much they've got to keep paying them.
I think it's going to come down to cost. It's also going to come down to like how busy these actors get every season. You don't want that 70s show or something along those lines, like that kind of a thing to happen where the actors get really, really busy with like a movie career or something along those
Yeah,
lines,
true.
and then you're not able to keep them in the show. I think it's better to do like like a 6-season arc would be perfect for the show. I think by that time, all of the characters have hit like their late teens
Hmm.
or early 20, like we're talking about like 19, 20,
I
21.
think I think the guy who plays Caleb is like older than them. Let me look him up on my laptop while I have it right here. But I think from memory, he's older. Oh,
Caleb in Stranger
Caleb is
Things?
his real name. Excuse me. Lucas is his character's name.
Oh
So
yeah.
he's 17. Yeah, he's older. Millie Bobby Brown's only. So I know that doesn't sound like a big difference, but I remember thinking 17 was really fucking old when I was 15. But he's going to be 18 in October.
So let's see. Season 3, by the time that ends, he's gonna be
He'll be
closer to
18, right?
18. Yeah.
So
And they
he
take
could
what?
be 19 before season 4 comes out. He could
Oh yeah,
be.
most definitely.
So who knows? Maybe Caleb doesn't. Maybe Caleb's because he's supposed to be playing like a 13-year-old, right?
Uh, kind of. I'd say like aren't they like 12, 13 at the start of the show, and then
I
it's
think they're
been
like
like
high school freshmen at the beginning of the show.
so
So I
about
don't know what
14.
that
Yeah,
is. Yeah, 13,
14. Yeah.
14. There you go. Yeah, it's a
Uh,
good call. And I guess so one of the things I wanted to ask you your opinion on is, so I think we see this over again and again in Hollywood. Like, if you talk about like a show like That 70s Show, or if you look at a show like Friends,
yep.
different shows that have launched careers for like the whole cast. It was kind of the
Yep.
first thing these people were on. And I guess, are we looking at the next generation? Are we looking at that next show right now? Is it sort of unfolding in front of our eyes? Do we think these kids are going on to be superstars?
So I know some of them are definitely like Millie Bobby Brown has already got like a massive career
Yeah,
going.
I
Like
agree.
that's not even really a question. Finn
True.
Wolfhard has his own kind of like I think
Isn't he
he
in a
kind of
band?
yeah, I think he's used this show as a way to launch what he really wanted to do, which is like be a musician, because that's what he does every single time he's not on the show.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah, I've
touring,
checked
he's
out
like
his Instagram.
performing. Yeah.
I've checked out. Let me pull it up now. I've checked out his Instagram. His Instagram's wild. Like, all he does is talk about his music and his band and like going on tour.
But I think we're also looking at a show where the kids are going to make enough money that they're not really going to have to do a lot post this. The royalties
True.
that they have and everything like that, it's going to be like to an extent like the Friends effect kind of thing, but they're going to be a
Yeah.
whole lot younger.
True. Yeah, because I guess yeah, it's not always the case where every single one goes on to have a crazy career. You might
Ex-
get that case where one of them is just kind of chills. He's like, what, I made my money, I
Yep.
secured the bag, like I don't really want to do this anymore. I'm gonna go like write a book, or maybe in this guy's case, just like be in a band that isn't like an A-list band, but it might be like a C-list band, which is pretty incredible.
But
So, who
y-
knows?
yeah, like Finn could have his own band. Like Dustin, I think the actor who plays Dustin, he's kind of doing his like own like prank based show or something along those lines. So you could see like
Okay, so I heard about this. Is this the
yeah,
thing that's like kind of the reboot of Punked, but it's not called Punked?
basically like it's kind of like he's going through Ashton Kutcher's uh what do you call it, life, to an extent.
Okay, he's going down that path.
He's going down that path, like like it's the same thing. They both had like shows when they were super young, ran for about 7 seasons, then they kind of did their own like reality show kind of thing,
Hmm.
which is probably what's happening with like the actor who plays Dustin right now. And then that's gonna lead into like a small like TV show, movie based career, probably.
Gaten Matarazzo is his name.
Yeah,
Sounds like it's got a little Italian in there.
it's
Matarazzo.
100% Italian.
Yeah.
Should
I mean, that would be
100% be.
cool. I don't know. I don't know if I would. I don't. So, two thoughts. One, I don't know if I would personally be super into like a reboot of Punked in
Yeah,
2019 because I think it was different in like the early 2000s when Ashton Kutcher was doing it because technology wasn't like advanced as it was now.
yeah,
So, for example, like no one had iPhones. No one was texting all the time. We didn't exist in this world where everybody knows where everybody is at all times,
exactly.
and
Yep.
you can kind of put two and two together much quicker nowadays. So that's my first point is like I wonder if that would be a barrier to overcome if that's the path he's going down. And second of all, like these pranks, like I don't know how well people remember them, but like a lot of the stuff that was done on Punked, like you couldn't do anymore. Like I remember there was a reboot like not that long ago when Justin Bieber hosted a couple episodes, and I
Yep.
think he punked Taylor Swift into thinking she fired off a firework onto a boat that then caught on fire and blew up, and she thought she was responsible for like
Oh,
16
the
deaths.
fuck?
Like I don't think that would fly. I don't think that would fly in 2019. And
Oh,
apologies if I got that story wrong, but that's my memory. But I'm pretty sure like Punked was pretty hardcore. The
yeah.
pranks were pretty intense. Like I don't know
But
how entertaining it would be if the pranks are, I don't know what the best way to put it is, but not as thrilling or as deep, basically.
well, so from the memories that I have of watching Punk never really delved into like emotional trauma of murdering someone though. Like
Now
it
I'll
was
pull this
more like
up.
he got terrified and then you would like get stuff done to you, but it was along the lines of like we're gonna scare you a lot and then just be like, hey, we punked you. Like
Okay.
I think that's what I remember from Punked was
Okay.
like a lot of like scare based tactics, like being kidnapped, like as a mock being kidnapped and stuff like that.
All right. Okay. I pulled it up. All right. I'm gonna read you the headline. This is
Yeah,
MTV. This is
yeah.
dated April 9th, 2012. This is nearly 10 years ago. Headline reads Taylor Swift, quote, absolutely traumatized, end quote, by Justin Bieber's Punked. On the season premiere of Punked, blah, 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 Swift's Punk was particularly memorable as she was left in tears after Bieber made her believing she ruined a wedding. The premise, Bieber and his pal, blah, 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 talked her into launching off a special firecracker that was sent to them. The firecracker launched further than they could have expected and set a boat on fire. The boat had a wedding party on it, and Swift believed she'd ruined the couple's big day. All right, so it wasn't murder, so apologies, I rescind that. But I was close from, what is that, 7 years ago? That's I give me some credit for that. But I don't see that flying in 2019. Like I think that's pretty intense.
Oh, 100%. I agree with that. I think prank shows in general are a thing that are pretty much of the past. So you can kind of see that from the fact that like prank videos on YouTube in 2012, 2013, 2014 were some
Hmm.
of the most viewed videos on YouTube. You
True.
could build a channel off pranking someone and that would be your career. You can't do
Yeah.
that anymore. Like now it's kind of like prank shows and prank videos are kind of shunned on just because they're just like,
True.
nah, you kind of like a little shit, like pissing people off.
Well, I tell you what, there's that. What is that show where there's like it's like the five best friends from Long Island, and they just prank each other the whole time. That's pretty like PG-13.
That's a
Uh,
show.
yeah, what's it called? I'm gonna pull it up. I'm gonna try to figure it out.
I'm
But
just gonna I'm just gonna type in Long Island prank show. Carbonara
uh,
effect?
no.
Impractical Jokers?
Yes, that's it.
Okay.
Impractical Jokers. Just so Impractical Jokers. The premise is like I think it's four of them. They've known
Yeah.
each other since they were like kids, since they were
Yeah.
like 12 or 13 or basically high school. And I think they all grew up to be like comedians or wanted to work in comedy, and then they started this show. And their pranks are silly. Like their pranks aren't like hardcore and intense. They're just like fun. They like mic each other up and make them say silly things to people or do silly things in Central Park or whatever. Like that's like pretty low key and pretty fun. And I think they have a huge following. Like I know tons of people. I'll watch it if it's on TV. I'll throw that on. Like it's a good laugh, but it's not punked, right?
Hmm.
So I'm worried if they bring back Punk, and we've gone on we've done like 5 minutes on Punk right now. We've done like a huge tangent on Punk. We can try to swing it back, but I don't know.
That's
That's
fun.
just
We're
my
talking
opinion.
about like someone's career. Okay, well, I'll say one last thing and then we can get back onto like streaming and Stranger
Yeah,
Things,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So you can kind of see it where like season 1 of Impractical Jokers was averaging about 1.6 million people
And
every
what year was
episode.
that? What year was that?
2012.
So the year Taylor Swift was absolutely traumatized.
Basically, yeah, the exact
Okay.
same year. We're looking at 1.6 million people watching that show every episode.
That's a lot of
Season
people.
that's quite a few people, but like you look at the latest season that they had, on an
Hmm.
average they had 0.51 million people, so 500,000 people watching that show.
All right. Well, you know what? Everyone's stats go down in a 9-year career or a 7-year career. I'm gonna give these guys a break. But still, what do you say? Well, 0.5, 0.4 million. So 400,000 people still tune into that show. I mean, it's obviously still good enough to be on the air. But the point I was more just trying to raise is like
Mhm.
it's a different type of prank, and I think that prank, like, in my opinion, part of the reason why they're still on the air is because it's PG-13, right? Like they can
Mhm.
get away with it. It's not blowing up fucking boats. Like,
No, I think the ability to kind of like get that line in the middle where you can kind of appeal to prank shows are most likely to impress like people that are kind of going into high school times, because like you still have that like super fun mindset of like being able to like make fun of your friends and stuff like that, and you don't really have to worry about that many repercussions because you don't think that far ahead in how evil you can be, which is why a
true.
show like Impractical
That's
Jokers would
so.
be a huge hit among 14, 15, 16-year olds.
Hmm.
And then
Oh, no, no, no.
obviously,
I know like 20, 25-year-olds who watch this show, but carry
oh
on.
shit.
Like my
Well,
friends, my
yeah.
peers, me.
uh
It's a good laugh. All right, so I guess like to round it off, look
yeah.
forward to Wedding Crashers 2 in theaters fall 2023, starring Gaten Matarazzo. I feel like we've called it.
Wedding Crashers 2.
Isn't that the one? Oh, no, no, Just Married is the movie I'm thinking of. Ashton Kutcher. Wedding Crashers is
Wedding Crashers is Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn.
yeah, Vince Vaughn. I'm thinking
But to
of
be honest, I could be down for a movie like that because like by that point we're talking about like it being like, I don't know, it's 4 years down the road, so he'll probably be about 20.
I think he's 16, yeah.
So it could be like here, I'm gonna
Almost
write
17.
write it for you right now, right? It's gonna be
Hmm.
like Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn's characters, like kind of training these kids to be wedding crashers just like them because now they're too old to do this.
I like wasn't it Will Ferrell's character? And then
Wait,
Wedding Crashes right at the end when he's still living with his
yeah, yeah.
mom and they
See,
realize what that's why they stop. No, all right, I'm gonna cut the cord on this because I think even though Wedding Crashes is a classic and it's a funny
yeah.
movie, I think I think the premise of the movie has aged really poorly, which is basically just like lying to chicks and getting drunk at weddings to hook up with them. I feel like that has aged extremely poorly and would definitely not fly in 2019 or 2023. So I don't know.
Well, so
Maybe they're teaching them how to be gentlemen at weddings. I would watch that. I would watch that movie. Like, hey, we learned from our mistakes. It could be the apology movie we never got. Don't get me
could it
wrong, Wedding Crashers is a fun movie to watch,
could it
but
be something in reverse where like they get taught this, but at the same time it's like the change in generations means it doesn't
you
work
mean
as
like
well.
they teach the older guys about how to be gentlemen? Like they teach them about like how to be like good human beings.
That could be a thing, or I was also thinking like the like Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson's character teach Gaten Matarazzo and like whoever the other character is, right? Their old ways, but then they also kind of like retort back by saying like this doesn't work anymore. You can't do these kinds of things. This is the right way, kind of thing. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
something along those lines. Like, but it
Yeah.
has to be done in a way that it's not pandering, but like also kind of realistic to an extent. Like this could be a really fun movie.
I think I would be down for any movie. Well, first of all, any movie starring Vince Vaughn. I think he's fucking hilarious. But
Yeah.
any movie, let's get like Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson back together. I even liked the Google movie. I liked that one. I think they have good chemistry. I think they're great
Oh, The
together.
Intern, right?
Yeah, The Internship. I liked
Yeah,
that movie. That was fun.
that was actually a pretty good movie. I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed that. It was like a good like entire thing of like old school versus new school kind of thing, and like bringing it together. It's very what's the term for it? Like very like heartwarming to an extent.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like very sweet, very cute movie. Adam Driver was in that movie. No, not Adam Driver. I keep getting people's names wrong. Adam Devine. He was in that movie,
Oh, the
right?
dude from
Modern
shit,
Family.
some modern family. What was his own show that he was on?
Oh, Workaholics.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think he was in that movie. I don't know. You should know, Kush. This is
I
your
don't.
this is your podcast.
This is a lot of TV shows. You
You're,
forget
you're
stuff.
supposed to be my Rolodex for movie and TV info. Nah, I'm just giving you a hard time.
That was such an old poll. A Rolodex?
Yeah, I love that word.
Those haven't been used since like '87.
Yeah, but I love what it represents.
Just like a book of all information kind of thing,
Yeah,
of just like
yeah,
people's information. True.
exactly. I don't know. I
Uh,
love old words. All right, let's get back to Stranger Things. Let
let's
me
go.
ask you a question.
Yeah.
If this would have happened in real life, like if something like this, like some crazy shit like this happened, right?
Yeah.
How quickly would Trump tweet about it?
The same night.
I feel like he would be typing the tweet as he was on the phone or getting the information, right?
The very same night, like that exact night, you're gonna have like a barrage of tweets of
Yeah,
like,
yeah, it wouldn't even be one. It would be like 7 like reply tweets to his own tweets with like 75% of the words spelt wrong.
and it's gonna be like just, I don't know, conspiracy theory reasons behind why something like that is happening.
Something great like America defeated aliens exclamation mark. Great exclamation mark.
Oh man, that would be that could actually be a pretty fun thing as well. Like you just have like, okay, what if Independence Day happened in real life? How would the tweets be about that and stuff like that?
We could do
Like
20 minutes on what if and how would he tweet about it, I think.
that could be its own episode, to be honest.
Hey, just give me a call. Let's do it next Sunday. Give me a week. Give me a week to do some prep.
All right, I'm down.
All right.
Uh,
Good stuff.
okay, I see. Let's see. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think. How do you think? Okay, this is one of those things where we're kind of like delving into the territory of the fact that like most of these kids are underage, but they're kind of like presenting these like particular romance things. Do you think that they're actually really going to delve into one?
So I think every great TV show kind of has a romantic arc, right?
Hmm.
Like I'm trying to rack my brains of some of the most popular, like even like Seinfeld had his arc with Julia Dreyfus's character.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Seinfeld nerd, so I don't know her character's name. We didn't have it in England, so excuse me.
Elaine.
Elaine, thank you.
Yeah.
Like every show has it, right? And if
Yeah.
we have it in Stranger Things with Mike and Eleven. Mike was so sweet to her and really looked after her when she first, appeared on scene. He let her stay in his basement. She missed him terribly when she was at Hopper's house and she was, locked up. And obviously Hopper was trying to keep her safe, but she obviously felt that urge to go and see Mike. And of course, at the end of season 2, we see them kiss for the very first time at the dance where Dustin has his crazy hair, which is an amazing look, just first and foremost. But back to the kiss. So it was sweet and it was cute, right? And I think from perspective of someone who's older than them, I'm like, oh, that's cute, like that's sweet. But I don't know how much further they can take it than that because, of course, they're underage. We're not going to get any like racy scenes. We kind of got one racy scene in the series so far with Nancy, right?
Yeah.
Like, didn't they kind of almost have a sex scene?
No, I'm
I
pretty sure
know they
basically
presented
did.
it. Yeah, right. So maybe if they want to do that, that's the avenue they go down with. I definitely think the relationship between Nancy and the older brother, I forget his name. Is it Billy? No, Billy's the
Uh,
stepbrother.
no, I'm trying to remember his
Jonathan.
name.
Jonathan. It's Nancy and Jonathan.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that's something they can go down. Great looking couple, by the way. Like I'm very into that. I think she belongs to Jonathan, and they clearly understand each other on a deeper level. So I'm buying stock in that. But I also, part of me also likes her ex-boyfriend. I forget his name in the show. I really should have done more research about all the names
Good
because
guy Steve.
this
That's
is
what his
verging
name.
on embarrassing. Steve
Yeah.
Harrington.
Yeah, because they like he
Also a great
turned into
looking
like
chap.
Uncle Steve or Good Guy Steve, and that's what like
Yeah,
yeah
because he has that spin around, right, where he's kind of like a douchebag at the beginning, and then
yeah
by the end of season 2, he's kind of looking after all the kids.
yeah
Yeah, I forgot
basically like he
about
becomes
that.
like Dustin's like mentor to an extent as to how to live
Yeah.
life.
All right, but getting back to your original question, so I have my doubts about the Mike 11 thing because they're
Hmm.
so young, but also I have my doubts because I'm thinking like this poor girl was tortured her entire life up until like I guess in the show like a year ago. Like I don't know
Hmm.
how long do we think what's the time span between season 1 and
A
2?
year and
Like
a half. A
year and
year
a
and a
half.
half. No.
Okay,
Yeah.
so she's been out and about. She's been out on the scene for a year and a half. She obviously has really deep feelings for Mike.
Hmm.
He was the first human who didn't treat her like a a
A test
specimen or a
subject. Yeah.
subject. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, but I don't know. I guess I question how much romance can someone who doesn't grow up with movies and TV that just show you what romance looks like in society, or at least how it's presented in society. There's a whole other conversation about how diverse it is, but just bear with me. As
Hmm.
someone who doesn't grow up with that and who's only really experienced torture, I guess does she have that question of like, what is this? Is this real? What does this mean? How do I feel about this? Or maybe she's just not thinking about it. She's like, you know what? I'm 12 years old and I like this boy and he's good looking. I'm gonna kiss him. I don't know. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, so what they've kind of done with 11 is like that entire thing of like a person coming to. I don't know if you've ever watched the movie Coming to America. It's about a
I
guy.
haven't seen that one.
It's like Eddie Murphy's movie about someone who was just like dude who grew up in a different part of the world and comes to America and then tries to kind of get like assimilated with this country
Okay,
because
sounds
the
good.
culture is so different from where he was from. And I think that's what we kind of got to see with 11 as well, where she was like kind of learning the
Yeah,
way of the place and everything like that because she'd spent her entire life in like one lab.
yeah. And doesn't she have that whole bit in season one where she keeps being like, friend,
Exactly.
friend,
Yeah.
right? Like that's my point. Like she didn't even know what friend was a year and a half ago. And I just don't know how I feel about launching into season three being like we're boyfriend girlfriend now. Like to me, that just feels like a rapid acceleration. But
S-
I don't know. Maybe I'm old timey. I don't know.
Like I would be perfectly fine with the thing where it's just like it leads up into a romantic relationship, maybe a season or two down the road, like a
Hmm.
legitimate romantic relationship between the two of them. But like I that's not a primary thing for me in this show. It never has
Yeah,
been.
I
Like
think they have to throw it in there though because it. I think it has like as a writer. Like I think you've got to write that in. I don't know because like I was saying at the beginning, like at the beginning of the segment, like all these shows have romance in them, like
yeah, uh,
some romantic arc.
and you to an extent you do need a romantic arc because you need to deal with the terms of like actually caring about something and may possibly loss or anything along those lines.
Hmm.
But we can also kind of get that from the angle of a deep like I don't know, like a deep level of affection for each other, but also just it could be friendship related. That's what it
Yeah,
was the very first time when 11 went away. It wasn't the fact that like, oh, I love this girl and she's about to go away. It was the fact that this was like one of his closest friends, that like someone he'd kind of like met a little while back, but
hmm.
became really, really close together.
And I guess they toe the line kind of somewhat strangely between like almost that family type love where
Yeah.
it's like I have to look after you no matter what because he basically found her and she was basically just like a homeless lost child, and like a romantic love where it's like, oh, we got to know each other, we did this and the other. It's the 80s, maybe they went to the ice cream parlor, who knows. And for me, I don't know. I don't know, I'm just not buying stock. But so I've seen from some of the teasers and the previews that there's
Hmm.
another romantic relationship in season three, which is between Lucas, who I called Caleb earlier, but that's because it's portrayed by Caleb McLaughlin, and Mad
Hmm.
Max. So Lucas and Mad Max, and I don't know if you remember, I vaguely remember there was kind of like a bit of competition between the rest of the boys
And Max, yeah.
at, and
Uh,
yeah, for Max's
yeah.
affection.
Well, then
So
we
I guess it
also
would be interesting to see if it tears them apart, right? Like if Lucas wins, if he's now becomes Max's boyfriend, how does Dustin feel about that?
I I
How
don't
does Will
want
feel
that to
about it?
happen. I really don't want like the Yoko Ono thing to happen in the show.
It's in play. I feel like it's in play.
You think so?
Well, I mean, I haven't seen it obviously, but I feel like it's in play. I don't know. It happens. Like people get jealous. That's a real. That's a real thing. Like no, I don't say. I definitely don't want it. I don't want to see that happen. That would not be fun because I think
Hmm.
part of the charm of the show is that it reminds you of being young and having your that squad you had when you were 12 years old. It brings back that fun memory, and to see the squad sort of divulge into 11 and Mike and then Lucas and Max and then the other three, I think would obviously be sad, but I don't think the writers would do that. So it will be interesting to see how they play that dynamic between the rest of the boys. Like maybe it'll just be like 30 seconds in the beginning of episode 1 where they're like, we don't care anymore. Like shrug of the shoulders, like, yeah, that's all right. Like I'm over it.
Like for me, the thing about Lucas and Max was like, yeah, you had kind of like Dustin being like, "Oh, I'm interested in her," and then like Will just being like, "Oh, I'm gonna keep, fucking going in between two different worlds." Like you obviously had like Lucas and Max thing felt supernatural because it wasn't like, or like not supernatural, but like super like natural.
I know, I get what you're saying. Yeah, yeah. Like,
And the
like
reason
it felt easy. Like I was very into. I was like rooting for him the whole time.
Exactly, and I didn't feel thrown off by it at all because like it wasn't
Yeah,
like, oh, it just like, the first episode they meet, the second episode they're together or something along those lines. It was a
exactly.
gradual build of like a friendship and like affection and stuff like that before they were actually just like, hey, I'm kind of into you.
And they went through some real shit. Like the whole fucking world opened up, and they almost died, and they had demagogues chasing them. Like
Chasing them and then they were
that's the
fighting
shit
them
that'll
off
bond
and
you.
everything like that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like it's like one of those things where like trauma brings people together kind of thing, and that's what we kind of saw between these two characters because they went through the same shit. They went through like life-threatening shit together, and it
hmm
brought them together. I
Side note.
don't.
Sorry,
Yeah.
go on. No, go on. Go on. Go on.
Oh no, my entire thing was like I don't want them. The thing I love about the four like friends being together and just kind of doing their own thing is that they are to an extent uncorrupt. Like they're not corrupted by like these like particular ideals of like jealousy or something along those lines. Like, they obviously have like small bits, but eventually, no matter what, they're together because they love each other as friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
I would hate for like it to like go down that path, like that typical storyline of like, oh, I like this girl, but you're with her, and now I don't like you anymore.
Okay, so let me throw this at you. Did you ever watch Dawson's Creek?
I did not. No.
Okay. All right. Just reference. You should watch it. One of like my favorite shows I've ever seen. Like, but I'm into that. I'm into that like genre, like One Tree Hill, like all that sort of
Hmm.
stuff. Like great binge TV. But I'll just throw it in there for anyone who might listen to this who knows the reference I'm going for.
Yeah.
It's that Lucas and Pacey have this like fight for one of the lead girls, and then they sort of grow apart. Like one of them wins out, and then they kind of aren't friends anymore. And that was obviously the direction that show took. And I agree with you. You know, it would be devastating if that happened in this. But I don't know. Like I said, I feel like it's in play. It could happen, and maybe I don't know. Maybe some shit comes their way, and they've got to get over all their internal drama to sort of save the world. Who knows?
That could be a thing to kind of. I would kind of be unhappy if that ended up happening, but if they did that in a right way, I wouldn't hold it against them.
Right? Like it
But
teaches you that lesson that like, yeah, nothing really matters except friendship. Like they get there in the end through this big experience they have. I don't know. I'm throwing shit out there. Hey, Strange Things, sign me up. I can write.
all right, I got a question for you. Which
Yep.
who do you think bites the bullet first among all of them?
Oh, it's big. Oh man, I feel like all right. So I'm assuming you're saying who bites the bullet of the main six, or are you
Yeah, of
talking
the
like
like.
the extended cast, including like Joyce and Jim,
No, I'm
like the
talking about the
sister?
kids. I'm
Okay,
talking
so
about
I don't
which.
think it happens in this season. I'll say
Okay.
that. I don't think any of them go in this season.
Okay.
But I'm gonna make my prediction. I'll stick by it. I'm gonna say it's Lucas,
You
and
think
I'll tell
Lucas
you
bites the
why.
bullet? Okay.
And I'll tell you why. So I think it's Lucas, and this is strictly because I was reading earlier that he's older. So I feel like that could come into play where he's like, no, I got to go do this movie, this big Hollywood movie I can't shoot, and they've got to somehow figure out a way to write him out.
Oh shit! So you think Lucas is gonna bite the bullet just like timing issues and everything like that?
Like he'll throw himself on the coal,
Yeah.
save Mad Max in a very romantic, like heroic way, and then he'll like get eaten alive, like the guy in last season. Remember when they're running around in the hospital, and the kind of chubby guy who the mum was dating gets like eaten to shreds?
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
remember that
Sean
scene?
Astin, Sam
Yeah.
from Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Exactly. See, there you go. Pulling those references out, Kush. Love it. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it can't be 11. She's going to be in the show until the bitter end. Like she's the star of the show. It's not going to be Mike.
Yeah.
He's too important as well. Dustin's in play. I don't think it's going to be Mad Max because she was new. And then that only leaves Will Byers, who's kind of not been in it so far. Like he wasn't really in it season 1 because he was gone. He was in it more in season 2. Like I feel like that would be a really short stick to pull if he went out first. And
Hmm.
so basically, in my mind, I'm looking at it like it's either going to be Luke or Dustin. And I don't know. I'm swaying towards Lucas now because I feel like he's got that hero in him, like that hero trait. Whereas I feel like Dustin's a bit more reserved. Like I don't know. Tough one. I don't know. What about you? Who do you think? Who do you think bites the bullet first?
Uh,
If
gonna,
anyone, and when do you think it's going to happen? I've already put it.
I think
I could see it happening like late season 4.
I think Mike bites it.
Like what's his name? So I didn't watch Game of Thrones, but like Jon Snow,
To an
that would
extent,
be Jon. I know he comes back, but that would be Jon Snow esque, right? Because there was that cliffhanger where he dies, and then obviously he comes back. But
exactly. That's what I think happens. I think we see what. Okay, like I think tragedy really builds a character. I think that's one of the
sure.
things about like superhero heroic type characters, that they have to experience tragedy in order to become the true version of themselves. I think
Hmm.
that's what we kind of get to see with Eleven, where the one person that she like really, really cares about ends up dying, and that
That would
that builds.
be horrifying for her. But
I
wow.
know, but like
Okay, so let me
that's
pose this to you. So
yeah,
if tragedy builds character,
yeah.
does this become the Will Byers show? Like, is he the dark horse to take over the show? Like, he was obviously one that's traumatic. He had
Yeah,
a horrible go at it in season 2. Remember that scene where they tied him down and they were like burning the place up to get the
yeah. They were
ghost monster out
exercising
of
him
him?
basically. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, of all of the main characters, bar L, he's probably second for like most traumatic experience, like person we'd have the most sympathy for.
So the reason why I am perfectly on the side of this being like this slowly turning into a Will Byers 11 kind of thing, like not that the two of them are together, but the two of them
They
are
become
the
the
biggest.
leads.
They become the leads, and the reason behind it is like Will is the kind of character who has had the most happen to him with the
Hmm.
least amount of screen time,
Biggest heat check, as they say. As they say,
and
he's
like
doing the most
that's
with the least.
exactly, and like that plays a massive role into like there has to be something along the lines. There's a reason why like he was barely there in season 2, even though he has the most amount of shit happen to him. Like he has, to an extent, an ability that no one has. Like not even 11, no one has this ability to kind of just go between these two worlds.
Yeah, you're convincing me. I could really
And
see it going this way now.
I think the
Like
death of Mike.
in a way,
Yeah.
like I'm sorry to interrupt you, but in a
No.
way, like they obviously like Millie Bobby Brown is the star of the show. She's the
Hmm.
main. She feels like the main character to me right now.
Hmm.
But I feel like Will Byers is currently a very close second, and they could very easily transition it because, as exactly as you say, everything happens to him. Like
Yeah.
the arc of both two seasons is about him, right? The arc of season 1 is he's missing and then try to find him, and then we discover the whole upside down world, blah blah blah. The whole arc of season 2 is the ghost monster goes inside of him, and they like don't realize he's unwell at first, and they realize what's going on, blah blah blah, and they have to, as you say, um, perform an
He's
exorcism on him to get it out and make him better.
he is the
That's a
like
great
at the
take,
end of the
Kush.
day, while 11 is the character that we all focus on, Will is the focal point of the show. He's like the
Yeah,
rosebud. He's like this
yeah.
particular thing that like makes the biggest difference as to what happens in that world.
Hmm. I
and
never thought about that.
and like that's one of those things where I'm just like, we need a we need a real character building experience that's there, that like Mike's
I think
death
that would
could
be
be
my
the
favorite
thing.
thing to happen in season 3. Like I think
Mike's
that
death, or
now that we no.
uh,
I'm talking about like if we got some like real like Will Byers character building in season 3.
oh, I 100% believe that. Like he's
I
also
feel.
one of those people that like hasn't really been able to do much outside of Stranger Things, and I feel like it might be because of the
Hmm.
amount of time that he's had dedicated to season 3.
And might as well just touch on it while I was talking about him. Like, and I mean, I guess it goes for the entire cast, but like every time I watch him, I just think
Yeah.
to myself like, what a phenomenal actor
Oh,
for
100%.
the role he plays
Yep.
and how old he is. He's 14. He's the youngest.
The kid was acting circles around people in the first season.
Like unreal, like levels of talent. I think.
Like that's my main thing, which is just like I would love it that if we go down the path where Will becomes like one of these things that is the bridge between like
The
the
upside down
bridge
and the
and
real
like
world.
yeah, the bridge and the person that can kind of be the person like the gateway, like the person who like guards the doors to an extent between the two worlds.
Yeah, yeah.
And we get to actually see like Eleven's like full extent of her powers come through the tragedy that happens from Mike's death, because one of the things that we kind of get to see is that her emotions play a huge effect as to how powerful she becomes.
True. 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 Okay. See, I feel like you're calling it. I feel like Mike's death. Are you calling it in season 3, or are you saying further on?
Season 3 or 4, one like it's got to happen
You say
pretty
he's dead
soon.
by season 5. There's no Mike in season.
No, so like Mike does not exist in season 5. Finn Wolfhard has like a full-on career as like a lead
He goes
guitarist
on to
and
become
singer.
like a what's it, like a Rolling Stone or something like that. He goes on to
Yeah,
be
like he could be like the next, like, I don't know, Dave Grohl or whatever he wants to be like in the current times.
I
But
think he'd take it. I think he'd take it.
but season 5 there is no Mike. Like Finn Wolfhard's not in the show by season 5.
Okay. Oh man.
Like,
Yo,
and that
Stranger
could be
Things,
the last
Netflix,
season.
give us
That
a
could,
call.
that,
Honestly, I'm into this. I'm going to be disappointed if that doesn't happen. Honestly, that would be such a shock. Oh man, I'm into that.
and like that would be I'd say that's the best way that they can like actually transition the show from being like this like kind of mixture of like a kid slash, you know, supernatural show to a realistic, like towards the end of like their teenage years, kind of like a
Yeah,
gritty aspect, but that's also character development, and then you actually get to deal with like the monsters and everything along those lines.
yeah, because I don't think we're heading to like a Stranger Things season where they're like going off to college.
No,
I
no,
think this ends before any of that happens.
no. These kids are way too traumatized to have a regular life.
So I was going to ask you about this. Like, this is like a bit. Let's do like 5 minutes on this. Like, first of all, how much like help do these kids, like, if this is real life, like how
Yeah,
much help do these kids need getting through this? Because I think after season 1, like they've all got to take a break from school and like go see a therapist and get help that they need to mentally process what happened. And then they don't. They just jump right back into school. Poor Will Byers is in the hospital for like 5 seconds, and then they're like,
yeah.
"Right, you're good. Back to school."
Time to do
I mean,
math homework.
yeah, I guess it was the 80s, but yikes. Because I feel like there's no, like, that's maybe my own nitpick with the show. It's like where are the mums? Like why where are the, like, obviously we have the one mum, which is Will's mum, Winona Ryder, who's also flawless in this show. Like
Yeah.
she's a main character and she's phenomenal in it. But the rest of them, like, where are the rest of the kids' mums and dads? I guess like
Well, we get a little.
why aren't you taking care of your kids? Like, jeez.
Like that's the entire thing about like so the 80s were a huge transition period in America from like, you know, the parenting was just like, hey, don't go to that house because otherwise you'll get like touched or something like that, to like the helicopter parenting time, right?
Right.
And that's what we're kind of like, I think this is pre, I think season three's like trailer is when we get to see like Reagan stickers, so we're seeing like 1984 times.
So yeah, I was just reading on Wikipedia. 19 is season 3.
Sorry, what was in season 3? 1984.
1985 is the beginning. Is
1985.
season
Okay.
is season 3 is 1985. I think I read that. Let me double check while you talk.
And yeah, so like I think we're possibly living at a time in like US history where like parents were kind of fine with their kids having autonomous lives while they kind of live their own life, and like the kids just biked around. Plus it was like, it's like Indiana. Like it's like not even like central Indiana, it's kind of like out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
So it's
true.
not like a massive thing for kids to just like go around biking and stuff like that, because like you're not living in a city where you have to worry about like someone getting murdered or something like that the very next day. Like we get to kind of see that where like Barbara going missing is like a huge thing that brings the whole town together.
Yeah, 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 true. And I think they kind of played into that a bit in season 1, where they would, this is Hawkins, Indiana. This is a small town where nothing goes wrong,
Nothing
right?
happens. Yeah.
Like, this is a very quiet, dormant town.
Like it's the Stephen King thing where it's just like every single thing that happens, like, you know, in It or in The Shining or whatever, happens in like rural parts because that's where people expect it to happen the least.
True. Yeah. All right. I want to transition, unless you have anything else you want to talk about for the
Oh,
show. I want to
I,
transition and
I
talk a
think
little bit
we've
about
beaten Stranger
streaming.
Things to death today.
Yeah, we've done a lot. I mean, it's such a deep show, and it's very, very interesting. And that's, I love timepiece things. Like, I
Hmm.
love it when you're watching something and it really feels like the people who do the sets and the costumes. Those are the kind of the unsung heroes of shows like this, where you really
Yeah.
feel like you're watching something that's in the 1980s or whatever. So I mean, that's part of the charm for me. But I wanted to talk
Oh,
to you about streaming. because not only are you such a buff with details, but I think you also watch the industry quite closely. And you were talking to me on chat earlier this week about the sort of transition that we're seeing with
Hmm.
streaming services. Obviously, Netflix has been around for a while, but you were talking to me about all these new streaming services that are coming online. I was talking to you about the Apple one, and I had read, about NBC taking back The Office, which I
Yeah.
think upset a lot of people. So I guess my question is, and I think I have an answer for it because I think, but I won't say it. But I guess my question is Netflix going to survive or thrive once they lose all of their shows that belong to other big networks like The Office or like Parks and Rec, Friends, whatever else it might be? What do you see the direction of Netflix, and more generally, what do you see the direction of the streaming industry or the TV industry, I should say?
So I know 100% that Netflix is going to survive. My question is always going to be like, how far, like, how well is it going to survive through all of this? Netflix's business model is basically incredibly different from every other studio that's there.
Mm-hmm.
They rely on a system where it's just like, it's not that we're going to employ you to build like these IPs and then like create TV shows out of it, and then you kind of get rights to it, and then we'll give you like a little bit of a budget. No, Netflix's system is like, here's $10 million, give us the rights to all of your characters, and we'll give you a budget to develop your show, and like, as much as you want and stuff like that, and we'll take the brunt of everything, but we'll also take most of the profits.
Right.
Netflix is an incredibly risky business because of that, but at the same time, when you have like massive hits like House of Cards, Stranger Things, all these
Queer
like
Eye.
Queer Eye as well,
I love Queer Eye.
where they
Who
develop like
doesn't?
this massive thing. Like I've so my entire thing with Queer Eye is like, I watch a lot of YouTube clips about it. Like I'll
Mm-hmm.
just watch
Yeah.
like YouTube clips of different people, or like the different people that they talk to, or like other celebrities that they have on their show or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. But I've never really watched it like episode by episode,
Okay.
and
So
I
when
feel
you
like
watch
I'm
the
missing out.
clips, how do you? Yeah. When you watch the clips, how do you feel?
Oh, it feels phenomenal. Like I'll
Right.
literally binge them. Like I'll
Yeah.
binge
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
things, but I feel like I just need to like sit down at one point and just watch the show.
So last summer was the
Yeah,
first time I watched Queer Eye.
yeah.
So it's obviously summer after you and I graduated. So I had some time on my hands, and my
Hmm.
girlfriend was with me, and we blew through 2 seasons of Queer Eye, which I think was like 16 episodes, 16 like hour-long episodes in like
Jeez.
4 days, I think. Like all we did, because it was raining. We're in England.
Yeah.
Like it was the summertime, and we had been traveling, and then kind of my house was raining. We just blew through it, and I can honestly say that it is. So first of all, like, I love reality TV in general. I'm less of a fan of when reality TV feels really scripted, and I don't
Hmm.
feel like Queer Eye is very scripted. So that's a huge plus for me. But it's genuinely five of the like most kind people, seemingly kind-hearted people. I couldn't think of a single bad thing to say about them.
Yeah.
In the world, who give up their time. Obviously, there's perks to what they do. They get paid, and they have the celebrity that comes with it. Who give up their time to help people who A, really need it, and B, the most interesting episodes are where they help people who don't necessarily, whose views don't align with them. So
Yeah.
they filmed all of season 1 and 2 in Atlanta, Georgia, I believe, which is obviously south. And I don't want to make this a whole political thing, but there's undertones in the show where these five gay guys are helping people who you might not think are particularly receptive to the way they live their
It's their
life,
way of
which is,
life. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, which is obviously not right. And you see this magical transition and transformation, and they show people, through kindness and love, how to transform their way of thinking and become better people, and to
Hmm.
do and to be someone who's a minority group within society, and lives through everyday discrimination, I'm sure, and negativity towards them. Not maybe not every day, but they might feel it, and to go and approach something like this, where you're helping someone who's part of that group that's made you feel less than, is honestly, like, there's nothing more benevolently like human and happy about that. Like the kindness that they show to do that for people who, you know, as I was saying, belong to potentially a group that opposes their way of life. It's just incredible. But aside from from that aspect of it, it's a really fun, really heartwarming show about five guys who are incredibly good at what they do, and they help people and they transform their lives. And yeah, I won't lie, I shed multiple tears watching Queer Eye. Like wait, Queer Eye's new season of Queer Eye 2 in July. So I'm gonna have a lot of stuff to get through in July. Stranger Things coming and new Queer Eye season 4 as well. So I'm excited about that. I'm sorry I didn't mean to do 2 minutes on Queer Eye, but
No,
I
that's
think with the
yeah.
hold that Netflix has over shows like Queer Eye and Stranger Things and House of Cards and all these different original programmings, I think I don't see people canceling their Netflix accounts because they lose friends. Maybe a small percentage of people, but that's my view on it. Like,
So I don't see anything more than maybe like 5% of people canceling their Netflix accounts. I
yeah,
think Netflix has too much brand, like has looks like massive level of brand equity. It's been like the central placeholder for the
hmm
longest time. Like I like to say, like most people in the world don't use landlines anymore to call people, but they still
hmm
have them in their house. Like if
yeah.
you go to any family house, a landline's still there.
hmm
Netflix is that for streaming services.
well, I don't know. 'Cause now you're saying, oh, well, no one, like you're saying, no one uses landlines. Are you saying you think eventually no one will use Netflix?
No, okay. For example, if you like really get into a particular show, right? Say there was a time period when I got into a lot of Amazon Prime shows and I shunned Netflix to the side. I still had my subscription the entire time, but I was
I see what
rarely
you're
going
saying.
on it. And
I
then
see
I
what you're
got
saying.
into like YouTube and streaming and stuff like that.
It's more
And
of
then
just like a cornerstone of your life type thing.
exactly, it's something that you kind of always have because it is that one thing that you will always fall back on, but you always
hmm
go back to it for particular things as well.
True.
And that's the point where it's just like Netflix is not going to lose subscribers. That is not a thing. Netflix is going to keep all these subscribers at least for the next few years until it gets to a point where it's just like no one, like people have spent like 2 3 years of not watching Netflix and they're like, why do I still have this?
Yeah, true.
That,
But then, all right. So then, what happens to streaming? Because I'm not. I know, like, I don't want to cancel my Netflix account,
yeah,
but I also don't want to be paying $12.99 for Apple and $12.99 for NBC and $12.99 for HBO and $12.99 for ABC streaming. Like, I don't like.
to the point where it becomes cable costs again.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
part of so I have YouTube TV, which is like $40 a month,
yeah.
and I think we were just talking about this before, $50 now. They just upped their price,
hmm
and I love it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't. I think I can manage 7 different streaming subscriptions.
I think we get to a point where like, so right now what I have is like I have Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Hulu, right?
hmm
I got Hulu because of Spotify Premium. I got
Yep.
Amazon Prime because I just use Amazon Prime in general, and then I got the everything off of that, like with Twitch and everything along those lines. So I just kind of have a package deal with Amazon,
Right.
and then I obviously have Netflix because I've had Netflix ever since I was in college. Now I get to a point where like there are going to be subscription services where they're going to have to compete to get like even a dollar from me.
So yeah. So wait. So let's put it into context. So you've got
Yeah,
these three, and you're probably spending what, like $30 or $40 for streaming right now, like between Hulu, Amazon, and Netflix. Like, I'm
yeah,
not trying to
like
blow your spot up, but like most people probably have those three. Like, so say the average person is spending like $40 already on streaming, and then
yeah,
maybe it's someone like me where we also have YouTube. Now you're already spending like $80, $90 a month just on like content, right?
yeah.
And that's before any like YouTube TV, like, sorry, not YouTube TV, YouTube Premium, which, as we were discussing earlier, is different from YouTube TV.
Yeah, it's so
Like, where does it end? Like, I can't. Yeah, like you were saying, like to the bitter end for any more money.
no, it won't end because we're going back to a time where like we had okay, like you remember this from like the media classes that we took, but it was just like you started off with the three channels that were there, then you got Fox, then you got like a fuck ton of channels put together on TV, right?
Right.
And then streaming started taking place. So you had the biggest streamers online, which is just like Netflix and like maybe YouTube for YouTube videos, and then you had Netflix for TV shows and stuff like that. Netflix
hmm
starts developing their own original content. Amazon realizes that there's a market for that. Amazon creates their own videos thing, and now we're getting back to a thing where like it used to be the three big channels for streaming. You had Hulu, Amazon Prime Video, and Netflix. And now
hmm
you have all of these markets that are coming in. Like CBS is coming in with their all access, CW's coming in, DC Universe is coming in, because it's just a transition of TV from going from regular TV into online TV. We're just seeing a change in market, but it's going to be the exact same thing, and it's eventually going to get to a point where you kind of seeing that happen with Disney Plus. Disney Plus is releasing it, and their price is going to be $6.99,
Okay.
and
I
they're
could
undercutting.
maybe get on board with 6.99.
Yeah, because they're undercutting the entire market because they've kind of seen ahead where they're just like, oh, when we have like 20 different streaming services, you can't charge people $20 a month. It's
Yeah.
not going to work.
So do you think all the prices for like the existing streaming services will come down?
They're going to drop. They're going to have to drop.
Okay. That's
Otherwise,
good.
they're just not going to gain a market share. Like we kind of got to see that happen. Like my biggest example is always going to be the fact that like Tidal released,
Yep.
no one fucking got it.
Yeah. And they went through like 4 CEOs in like 2 months after they launched.
Exactly, because who the fuck is going to be paying like what was it? Like what was Tidal's like opening price? Like
Tidal was
20,000?
Tidal was a tough look. It was like it was expensive. And everyone had Spotify, which was free. And then Apple
Exactly.
Music came out. Well, I think Apple Music came first. I'm on Apple Music because I'm a big proponent of Apple. Like I'm all in on Apple. I got my iPhone, I got my Mac, like everything syncs up. I like it. And I like that my iPhone connects well with my music. And I know everyone goes on and on about Spotify and how well their Spotify curated playlist is, but it's all algorithm. I mean, and I'm sure Apple will get there eventually too, but I don't know.
Like I'm not the like for me, most of my time gets spent listening to podcasts, so I just
Mm-hmm.
like listen to podcasts. For music, like I don't listen to music enough that I have to like I kind of get into Apple Music. I just kind of have Spotify, and then I ended up getting like paying for Spotify Premium just because like I kind of wanted the side Hulu subscription with it.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense, and I think that was a huge selling point for Hulu. I think a lot of people canceled their Spotify and then signed up for Hulu and got it back.
Exactly.
So, do you
And
think? Go
yeah,
on.
go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say. So basically, we're sort of at the on the precipice of having all of these streaming services. Do you think that we're just going to get back to where we were 5 years ago, paying one enormous bill? Someone's just going to like strike a deal up and wrap all of these services into one and say, here, $100 a month, and you get access to NBC, CBS, Netflix, Amazon
So
Prime, Hulu, Apple, like boom, 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 boom. Because I feel like,
that that's a
like,
distinct possibility. That is something that can happen, but it's also if that does happen, we're going to get to a point where like it's going to heavily depend on the political climate and the way that internet stuff like just digital stuff is regulated in general,
okay.
because if regulations don't change, if massive mergers are allowed, then I don't see like I'm not like not afraid. What's the best term for like I foresee a time that this is going to happen. But
Mm-hmm.
if internet like the internet does get regulated, if we're talking about a time where like data management systems have to be like changed, the way that like how big companies can get also get regulated online, because then you have to be taxed the right amount and things like that, then no, I don't see this happening. Because the
Okay.
moment you get something where every single thing in the entertainment industry is put together under one banner, you get Comcast again.
Right. That's yeah, and I feel like I feel like that's super in play. Like that could definitely happen.
Like if that does
If
happen, then
yeah,
yeah,
barring any changes to the to regulation.
exactly. Like I wouldn't be surprised if that happened, but I also feel like people have gone smart to the extent of like, oh no, this can't really happen again.
Right.
Like we can't
Because
have
that
a
was the whole
monopoly
point about
over.
Netflix and
Yeah,
originally was to sort of be a disruptor in the industry.
exactly. Like that's the biggest thing about like you can be a disruptor and be a monopoly as a disruptor because you're the first in the market to do what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really like hard to kind of like just come in and then take everything that's in the market and become the primary source for everything like that. Because then you become a company that like you get into that stage of like you're too big of a company to function in general.
Right.
And this is going to heavily depend on the political climate. Like 10 years down the road, if we're still dealing with the same level of, I guess, like misinformation and the fact that like people are just not well versed with what happens online, then we're
Yeah.
going to see Comcast, like online Comcast. Like we're going to see like a digital Comcast. But if we're living at a time where people are smart to the idea of what happens when you have a monopolistic system for entertainment and TV and stuff like that, then I think we are in a market where everything's going to be like around $10 uh, to yeah, it's going to be around $10, and we're going to have to like just select like the 4 or 5 things that we particularly want to see,
Mm-hmm.
and then those are the things that you pay for.
So say we head down that path. Let me
Yeah.
ask you this: say you pick six. Say you're willing to spend $60.
Yeah.
Build your team. Build your subscription team. I'm gonna hold
As
you. I'm
yeah,
gonna hold you to saying that you're not gonna close your Netflix account. So you got to have Netflix in there.
I'm gonna
And
have Netflix and Amazon Prime. That's just
all
gonna
right,
stay.
so you got $40 left. Well, you can set your limit. You can set it. I probably would go up to like 60, or
No,
maybe if I
I
was
like
living with someone, I'd go up to like.
I would want to start off with like I think 60 is a pretty solid bet. Like I would actually bring it down to maybe like $50 a month because that's
Okay,
I pay $50 a month for my internet right now, right?
right,
I would want my cable and everything to be the exact same. So say we put it at $50.
right.
Um, I
Build your
have
squad.
I have as of what's available right now in the market, I'm gonna
Well,
go
no,
with
you can include stuff that's like been announced.
yeah, no, like just stuff that like I see is gonna either come on in the market in the next year or so, or what's
Yeah,
up in
yeah,
the
yeah,
market
yeah,
right
yeah,
now.
yeah,
I
yeah.
get Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus. Those are my
Okay,
three things that are gonna stay 100%.
okay.
Does Spotify Premium technically count for
No,
this?
no, 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 no. I'm talking strictly like TV streaming. Like if you had to pick
Mm,
five of the services.
I add in HBO Now and DC Universe. That's it.
Okay, okay, interesting. So no
I
Office, no Office, no Friends.
I've watched those things over and over again. Like I can move on past it. Like
So I guess that's interesting. So I asked you this question to lead you down this path. To ask you
yeah.
another question is it in play that NBC's thing fails? Because I mean, maybe this is a really naive thinking point for me, but I have a feeling that they kind of looked at the Netflix thing and said, "Fuck this! They've got Friends in The Office, which
hmm
everybody watches on Netflix. Like, let's just
hmm
take them back, and everyone will come to us."
So here's the thing, right? And one of the things that like NBC's gonna get majorly fucked on because they're bringing in The Office is that no one outside of America knows what the fuck NBC is.
Yeah, I mean, maybe globally. I think maybe
Like
I'm
NBC
probably not
has,
a good example. I know what it is, but I'm obviously not a good example. But yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
like
true,
you
true, true,
studied
true.
it, like that. That was also another thing.
Yeah, well, I lived there for 5 years, but
Like
I feel like I had an idea of what NBC, but I agree. Before I lived in America, I didn't get it. I didn't really know what
okay,
NBC
that
was.
was an exaggeration to an extent. Obviously, if you like have a little bit of knowledge about the industry, you're gonna
Hmm.
know what NBC is. But for
Yeah.
the general audience, like
Hmm.
here's the thing: the biggest like Friends base of like viewers is not gonna be in the United States. It's actually gonna be outside the United States
Interesting.
because Office is massive over here, Parks and Rec is massive over here, but Friends hit India, for example, 2 years
Hmm.
after it finished airing. So it built its fan base.
Yeah.
Like it finished its fan base over here, and you had the reruns going on, but it started building its fan base in like 2005, 6, 7, 8 onwards in different parts of the world, like Southeast Asia, Asia, and you're talking about like hundreds of millions of people that are now all getting access to the internet that are just like,
Hmm.
I've heard about the show for so long. It is so integral to all of these like people that were like slightly above us in the social class. Let's watch it on our own.
But it became, at least from my opinion, in
Mhm.
England too. Growing up in England, it was huge, and in America, it was a cultural cornerstone. Like there are
Exactly.
so many references that you needed to get through. In my opinion, at least, like maybe it was just a product of being in the Northeast, but it was it was so embedded in culture that not knowing the references felt a bit awkward. And luckily for me, I had actually watched the whole series when I was younger, when I was actually like, much younger, when I was probably 8, 9, 10,
hmm
with all my siblings. So I had watched it, and then when Netflix became a thing, it was like, oh wow, I can watch it whenever. I don't have to get the DVDs out. I can just watch it on my laptop whenever. But I don't know. I still feel like the fan base for what I would describe as like streaming based Netflix. Sorry, streaming based Friends fans, Office fans, and other NBC shows, Parks and Rec, as you mentioned,
Yeah.
is enormous.
Oh,
But but I don't know. But I don't know if everyone's going to go. All right, well now I need to go sign up for NBC. Like,
so
is it like is it in play that it for NBC? Is I guess is my question.
yeah, CBS All Access and NBC are on their way of like being the first to like kind of become the title kind of thing.
Oh, that's a hot take. I like that.
And I'll give you my reasoning behind it as well, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Netflix and Amazon Prime, both those have these particular shows that are massive like audience building shows, right? But they
Hmm.
also do a phenomenal job marketing based on geolocation, getting the
True.
shows that they know are going to be huge hits in these particular places. Netflix, for example, right? My parents ended up getting Netflix because they realized that a lot of like Bollywood movies were also going on Netflix and Dubai's
Hmm.
Netflix. And then that was their entire thing where it's just like, oh, we can watch like some of the shows that like our son's watching. We can watch like Friends and like Office and like a few other of these like random sitcoms. And then I got my dad into like the Marvel TV shows, right?
Right.
But my dad also watches a lot of the Bollywood movies that are put on Dubai's Netflix because Dubai has a massive Indian population.
Mm.
The thing that
Okay.
happened with Amazon Prime is that Amazon Prime started doing this thing as well, where they have like these massive amounts of shows, and then they have their own originals with like Man in High Castle, their own film industry, and now they're building the Lord of the Rings show, which is going to be the most expensive show in history because I
Wow.
think they're spending $1.5 billion on the first 10 episodes.
That is eye-watering. My goodness.
150 million per episode. Yep.
That better be some good fucking TV. God damn.
And but then they also have a lot of different shows that they've built for their audiences. They built Middle Eastern shows for the audience in the Middle East. So those people are going to get Amazon Prime, watch those particular Middle Eastern shows, and then also kind of get into these other shows that are there from the different parts of the world, particularly the like US shows. It's the same thing with India. Like I have friends of mine that got Amazon Prime, even though they don't particularly use it, because Amazon's biggest competitor in India is one of the biggest go-tos for delivery services and stuff like that, right?
Right.
But they wanted to watch the massive levels of stand-up comedy that was like Indian stand-up comedy that was there on Amazon. And then they also started getting these like high budget TV shows about like the cricket like scandals that happen in India and stuff like that, where they started like kind of building these like gritty shows that they wouldn't really get on Indian TV, but they would get it online by Indian
Okay.
creators. And
Interesting.
that's one of those things where like you have to appeal to an international market in order to stay relevant because your costs are going to be so high. And what they're
But
relying on is that one hit wonders. Like NBC's relying on The Office to bring in an audience, and it's
mhm.
just not going to happen.
But is there no? I guess not, because I guess Netflix get around it. But I guess there's no international sort of copyright thing loopholes that Netflix has got to get around, or sorry, NBC's got to get around. Like, I guess my question is
Eh,
I wasn't envisioning NBC's streaming service to be globally available. I thought it would only be US based because it's a US based network.
Oh, it's 100% going to be a US based network, but it's going to be also at a point where people are going to be like getting particular streaming services because it's got like a accumulation of like a bunch of other stuff from around everywhere, right?
Right.
People on Netflix will watch particular TV shows, but then they'll switch over to like really great documentaries that Netflix has by buying rights to those documentaries.
Okay.
That's not going to be a case with NBC because no
Right.
one in particular is just like most of NBC's audience is going to be people that are watching the show on TV. It's going to be like game shows, it's going to be like talk shows, it's going to be those kinds of things, right?
Hmm.
But you can't rely on one show to hold you up. Like you can't replicate what YouTube did to an extent with Cobra Kai, just because YouTube had a much lower level of investment. YouTube
Right.
already had a massive, massive audience.
True.
Most of NBC's audience is not going to go online.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I figure. I guess it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Like I really don't know. I get why they did that. I get that they thought that like because if they bring in The Office, they could get like a bunch of subscribers. it's a it's not a terrible idea in the sense that like you can kind of see where they're coming from, but if you look at the market overall, that's just uh not going to be that great.
Hmm.
But anyway, are there any more questions? Because we've done like an hour and a half long episode.
But yeah, this has been so much fun. I've really enjoyed this. I wanted to say thanks so much for having me on your show.
Dude, no worries. Feel free to come back anytime you want to
Yeah,
talk about a particular topic. Like I am
definitely.
100% ready.
No, I think I'm all set. And yeah, subscribe to this podcast. Subscribe to Kush. He's gonna have ton more stuff going on. I'm confident that he's the next conglomerate media entertainment businessman on his way, and
I
hopefully
appreciate
he'll
that.
bring me along for some podcasts on the way. But yeah, no, any questions for me before?
No, I think I'm all good. Is there anything you want to plug or anything like that? Feel free, dude. Like, I don't know how many
Yeah,
listeners
you
I have, but
can.
like,
Yeah, I'll for sure promote this too.
Uh,
Yeah, check me out. So I make music too. Being a try hard Stranger Things super fan. So you can check me out on Apple Music and Spotify. My handle is WILLBORCH. Some acoustic jams, some electric jams. You might check it out, and you can follow me on Instagram too. Kush, throw me your handle too. What's your Instagram handle?
my Instagram handle is King Kushmeister. Don't judge me on it, please.
Amazing name. Amazing name.
Uh,
All right, man.
well,
So great to
it was
catch up
great
with
talking
you.
to you. Great. I think this is going to be a fun episode. See you guys.
Hell
See you.
yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Take care. Bye.